Welcome to a special episode covering a path-breaking event that unfolded across Mumbai, Delhi and Bengaluru. We bring to you an exclusive coverage of the Daicon road shows conceptualized by Strategy Inc. with the title partners SADA, an Insight company, and Google Cloud, co-powered by partner Hitachi Vantara, and the digital media partner CXO Digital Pulse. These roadshows unveil the trends in the world of data, AI and cloud with key focus tracks such as TechOn for tech visionaries, FinCon for financial futurists and MarcOn for marketing mavericks. Leading innovators and the brightest minds came together to share their insights into top-notch advancements, thrill-inducing demos and transformative ideas. Beginning with the Mumbai edition of Daicon, here are some excerpts from the keynote addresses and panel discussions held during the day. Here's a look. To start with, we bring you glimpses of the thoughts shared by cyber law and data protection expert Puneet Bhasin.
Now, what is the applicability of the Act? It applies to all forms of digital personal data. Personal data, simply any data that identifies you as you. It may be your name, your email ID, your banking information, your sexual orientation, anything and everything about you that can identify you as you or is a cluster of information about you. All of this comes within this definition. So your health conditions, everything. Now, when is it applicable? When there is digitization of this data. So in a digital form, if this data is collected by somebody called a data fiduciary.
Former ISRO scientist Dr. Mailaswamy Anadurai, who is fondly known as the Moon Man of India, also graced the occasion.
When we talk about that, when we are talking about the Starlink and OneWeb coming, and that itself giving a private or dedicated communication networks is going to give that. And then you will be attempting a unique data compression system for 3D and cyber secured real-time data streaming, such that the bandwidth requirement for the whatever endoscopic image is concerned, we can improve upon that. And beyond all these things, you look at here, I told when the Martian rovers keep moving, it's not every inch by inch commands are going there. It decides on its own, but only when some problem it negotiates and gets back the instruction from the ground. Okay, something similar, it can happen, automated procedure through AI that requires a high level of repetitive motion and precision.
Up next, we bring you some thoughts shared by Professor Soumya Narayanan Sadagopan, Founding Director of International Institute of Information Technology, Bangalore, Chairman Board of Governor, IIIT-DM, Kanchipuram.
And most important stuff is data need not be collected, data gets captured. And the best example of that was during COVID. You all know COVID vaccination was happening. When I took the certificate, nobody went and entered the data. The nurse, on the day, as soon as she entered, she swiped the QR code. So it was gathered, so she had done it. And then as long as she did the vaccination for me, she keyed in my Aadhaar number. And then they know that I was given vaccine, they know my age, they know what time it was given, they know who is given. And that data is preserved, so all over the country, we could actually find out every day how many people are vaccinated, how many men, how many women, how many senior citizens. And then 55,000 cold storage points. We had actually every day we knew how many came in, how many came out.
Ameya from EY gave his views on Metaverse customer experience, a world of new opportunities. During a discussion on Trialogue, how data will shape Metaverse, Hariharan Iyer, Group CIO Raymond Group, shared his views, and Kunal Mathuria, Head Data and AI Sales, GCP India, spoke on Data World, Emerging Trends and Opportunities. Matthew Hardman, Chief Technology Officer, Hitachi Vantara, APAC, also shared his thoughts.
One of the key drivers of potential use cases for a metaverse opportunity is that my consumer needs to get there first. It will automatically attract the brands to, start reaching out to them. Currently, in the use cases, we are seeing children and we're seeing gaming, not a cohort or a segmentation which the brands want to really reach out to yet. But I think, as, in few years progress and this generation moves beyond 18 years, their metaverse also will evolve beyond Roblox to a next level of an ecosystem which gets created.
Retail, the fashion industry, the cosmetic industry, FMCG, each one of them can be super personalized. I know your patterns. I can engineer your behavior to the tunes of it. So that brings me a separate customer segmentation. And that's how the future is. So when we talk about metaverse, when we talk about anything across, it's not just the funny digital avatar. It is exactly knowing the tune of your data and the pulse of your beat. That's exactly what I would like to measure across. And if I can measure it, and if I can create a system, or I can create a kind of a pattern about it, which can be reflective in my product, in my service, that creates the magical figures. And that will be hyper-personalization. But along with it will come a separate set of risk also. None of today's security aspects will be of any concern tomorrow. The whole of the concern will be data poisoning.
The whole field of generative AI wouldn't have existed without data. Is because all of these models, right, that everyone seems to be using nowadays, including BART, ChatGPT, etc., they're trained on massive sets of data. Essentially, web crawlers going and just crawling the internet and just sucking in data and training itself on that, so that now the response that we ask questions to becomes very human-like.
When we talk to customers about data, we recognize that they're feeling incredible pressure from what we call the data effect. The data effect is really about where we see exponential growth of data. We actually see the changes of data types and where data is being generated. And we also see questions about understanding and realizing the value of what data is actually collected itself. When we look at trying to help customers address this, they're telling us that they feel their infrastructure may not be ready to be able to address these future opportunities. They've also told us that sustainability, and particularly environmental sustainability, is a key concern for the solutions that they deploy because of their commitments to the environment. At Hitachi Vantara, we are confident that the platform of solutions and technologies that we offer can really help a customer address the data opportunities that they have in the market, and for the opportunities they foresee in the future. We can provide them flexibility, choice, and solutions that really address that environmental sustainability challenges. We're happy to work with customers, and we hope we can actually solve those challenges together.
Up next, we bring you key takeaways from the Delhi edition of the Daicon Roadshow. Here are some of the excerpts from panel discussions held during the day.
Like I used to work with Mother Dairy, and one of our challenges used to be managing temperature, and logically Edge is a use case for any temperature aberration detection kind of use cases where it doesn't make sense to throw out every temperature data back to the cloud or to a central ecosystem, but only the aberrations need to be acted upon kind of thing. So those are some of the standard use cases which is under widespread adoption.
If you're trying to leverage GenAI in your organization, a couple of things that you need to look at. One, evaluate the readiness of your organization. Whether you really want to bring GenAI in your organization, whether there's a use case to solve in your organization. Identify the high impact use cases. You just can't say that I'm having a technology, I'm trying to take a lead, and I want to go to my business and I want to solve the problem, which does not exist, right? So identify use cases where you can put in your money on GenAI and try to solve those problems.
With respect to the data confidentiality and sensitivity, we also have to look at very carefully which security controls needs to be implemented for what level of applications that we have. So there is no one single rule that can be applied to all the applications. There may be certain top sensitive applications that may require more security with respect to multi-factor authentication, end-to-end encryption, and many more. But they also needs to be very well documented. The third and the last point I would like to make, and which is very centered to my heart, is making sure that the plan, whether it is a business contingency plan or any other plan that we have in the organization, that is well drafted and communicated to everybody in the organization.
After witnessing the Delhi and Mumbai editions, it's time for the Bengaluru edition of the Daicon Roadshow. But before that, we'll head towards a short break. Let's now watch what Bengaluru had in store for the tech lovers.
And when we talk about the next level of sophistication in imagery, no matter it's edtech, health tech, fintech, any tech, It is going to be the quality of your imagery that's going to make the difference between how you will get people to experience what you want to do. Because the difference, I've been in consumer products for most of my early life, and at that time you engaged people, you went with your products and you made people look at them in a way that was better than your competition. But today's consumer, and you are all part of that, but today's consumer is looking for experiences. And the only way to create experiences is by interactive mediums and imagery.
There was a summit in Mumbai. It was on responsible AI. And Mukesh Ambani, a very powerful statement he made. He said, in the past, nations have competed on physical capital, financial capital, human capital, but the future will be fought on data capital. So he said, if the country today, we talk of so much of GDP, right? The future wealth of the nations and organizations will be measured by the gross domestic product. But it's just not the gross domestic product, but more going forward with the potential of data. GDP is just not gross data domestic product, but also the gross data product.
Today, using generative AI, able to collect that information into what we call as industry knowledge vault, which is a way that you gather the information, contextualize it, to use it across the industries.
Kind of a knowledge management system.
So it's like, for me, we used to think about digital twins as something like fancy. Today, using generative AI, we could generate digital twins along with the AI in just a couple of minutes.
Wow.
So that's what we do it for, not only for our own critical assets, but also the customer composite systems as well.
Yeah. Now we are here, taking it to a little higher level, discussing about how AI can help us, or how AI is defining the strategy and directions of various companies. We've seen a lot of new innovations of companies coming up which are driven by AI, but a lot of companies are changing the way they work based on AI.
Just to talk about responsible and ethical AI, I think it's important to establish certain metrics at the start of the initiative, where you say, okay, here are the metrics we're going to measure us against, and think through them before it starts and not as an afterthought. I think that's important.
How is your business leveraging cloud and AI as technology and what value you have derived so far, and where do you see it going from here?
Now with all the power that GenAI brings in, how can you go beyond credit scores? How can you create hyper-personalized credit health charts, health history around people? And how can you leverage all of that to give them loans eventually, so on and so forth. So I think that's a very interesting area that we look forward to build on.
What inventory to keep, what can be just in time. All of these decisions are taken by tech and engineering and data science. So I think in order to deliver customer the right product at the right time, that is where technology is helping us. That is what we strive to do.
Today's tech is totally changing, and it is very difficult to make tech right now, because there are microservices which has come into play, which was basically to solve the issues of monoliths. But when you are talking about microservices, few things come in automatically. What you need is basically better monitoring, better uptimes, and basically if you get into infrastructure management by yourself, it becomes too much work.
Key challenge what I have looked at is very specifically, which I felt it was little difficult for me to address, was on video analytics platform. So there we run like a video analytics platform across all our warehouses, and we understand, right? We capture all the CCTV feeds, load into one NVR, and then that has to go to one platform which has to convert into an analytic engine, right? So storing the data locally and then pushing the data to the analytic engine, we need a huge bandwidth. So if I need 100 Mbps to run the entire operation, I need 200 Mbps bandwidth to do this analytics alone. So mitigating that was not an easy task. Then we need to, that's where Edge came to rescue us.
Moving on, it's time to listen to the expert takeaways from a few more panel discussions held as part of the Bengaluru Daicon Roadshow.
I think security is one of which is covered, right? Another one is how much autonomous power you want to give at edge. right? I think within the organization, we felt that's always a debate how much control you give at the edge. So somewhere in our journey, we decided that they should have, they should be able to make, the edge devices should be able to make real-time decision making based on their local feedbacks or the responses, while the policies and controls coming from the centrals, right? And also having a real-time analytics which we can track and respond immediately and control any anomalies happening at the edge devices.
So I think in my opinion, right, edge computing, definitely you need to build your edge more intelligent so that decision making happens at the edge level, because you can't send, like as you give an example of like the car. If a decision is going to happen in the data center DR, which is sitting somewhere like in say San Francisco, right, it will take time. So you need to do the decision at the local level so that you have a less latency, right? So what I always feel, right, in this scenario, like you have to sense, then you have to process, and then you have to act.
Yeah.
That's the way we have to build the ecosystem.
So I'll talk about AI capabilities in Jira Service Management, right? You can generate and transform content within the description of your incident or service request. For example, I'm going to say that create a table, right, which will have last 3 iOS versions and Apple devices, and tell me if it's supported or not. And it automatically does that for you. How cool?
It's always going to be a controversial topic, right? So, okay, if you are going to be putting a lot of restrictions on the use of AI or LLMs or things like that, you may not reach the innovation that you actually desire, right? So there's always going to be a challenge, right? So in terms of making sure that, okay, the models that we build, the models that we are in control of, right? So we want to eliminate bias. We want to ensure that, okay, there is no discrimination in terms of basically the results that we actually display.
So what I think the practices that we are trying to do, and it's coming as good practices, where inside your perimeter, where in your network, define something called the facade. I would say facade service. So internally you expose API through the facade, and this facade is only when talking to your LLM outside, let's GPT-4 or anybody which is cloud. So your connection to outside of your corporate network is only the facade talking to the LLM in cloud. But internally for entire organization, you expose API through facade. And that way, the secure connection or data monitoring, data governance, you can have only between the facade and the cloud.
Now we know about, when we talk about movie personalization, for example, we talk about among the available movies, something gets picked for you. But imagine a world where a movie is made for you. Right? We know Pratik is like this. She likes to watch a certain set of movies, she likes certain ending, etc. So on the go, what if on-demand movie gets generated for you?
Just wish to see that AI forces people to change a lot. Change, which is a real 3-step process according to me. One is recognizing that there's a need to change. Second is ensuring that you don't want to maintain the status quo. And the third is to take the first few steps when you actually cannot see the entire staircase.
From digital native and AI native organization, they are not restricting AI to the functional and operational part. They are going beyond to the last stage to actually create an innovative product and services which is out and out there, touching the lives of people. And I would say the legacy organizations are also not far from that thought.
One thing that I would say is, especially with AI coming on board, right, in the last 18 months, ChatGPT kind of made it famous, the whole generative AI. I mean, AI as a subject used to be there many years. It used to be in the realm of the data scientists. But I think 2 hypotheses that I would position, right? One, I think with ChatGPT, I think everybody is now a data scientist. So AI has now become into the realm of mainstream. And something that has enabled that is, I would say, cloud. So cloud plays a massive role in that, and every one of the product vendors, OEMs, ISVs, name it, hyperscalers, everybody is actually building out massive amount of investments into AI, right? Now, with that said, I mean, this is more the hypothesis, but from a collaboration point, right, I think if you see the world has shifted, we are becoming more converged as an industries, right? You use massive amounts of data, but then how do you use the data for you to drive decision? For that to happen, you can't have, I mean, while organizationally you're structured with business units and, your customers' data, internal, right? You're working across business functions, so on and so forth.
it's imperative that you actually start bringing all of these functions together.
Dr. Shivani, like we said that, we're using data and harnessing data to drive smarter analytics, smarter decision making, smarter insights that can be drawn from data. What exactly could be the approaches that organizations could employ to leverage the data and drive strategic decision making?
This AI-driven data journey is the one place where customer experience is getting enhanced, and that's the place where it's spending a lot of value now, because that 2-minute noodle to 2-minute loan, right? That has been possible when all the links have been connected really sharp, really well, and we are able to run from data, you can say, collection to solutioning to giving the final output to the bank and then giving the value, right?
If you look at transactional data, the quality of the data is very much in control. But 70 to 80% of the enterprise data is unstructured. And that data has a quality problem. Even discovery of that data is a problem. Forget about analysis. So enrichment of that data with the tagging, with metadata to make it discoverable and participate in the analysis is one of the things that most of the organizations are doing, and we are working with them to make it happen.
Up next, we bring you a short address by Sonia, Senior Director Sales, APJ, SADA and Inside Company.
I would like to talk about the exciting journey what we've had in the last 1 year with Google Cloud in the India market. So SADA, being one of the largest Google partner globally, was doing phenomenally well in the global markets like in North America and UK, and we started the India GTM just a year ago, and I'm really happy to mention that we've achieved quite a lot in the last 1 year. Still a lot more to achieve. So we've come into a joint partnership with Google. We have close to about 80 plus logos acquired in the last 1 year. We work very closely with the digital natives and the SMB segment in Google. And I think this new kid on the block in India, so-called SADA, was able to compete with the biggies in country just because of the core technical strength, what our delivery center, which was existing in India for a couple of years and was already servicing the global clients, came in hand with the sales GTM, and we rocked the India market.
After witnessing the incredible synergy of data, AI and cloud technologies, it is time to wrap up this exhilarating journey. The journey doesn't end here. The spirit of innovation and discovery travels next to your city, bringing the latest in tech advancements and thought leadership right to your doorstep. Daicon, coming to your city soon.